The restaurant had those soft yellow lights meant to make everyone look kinder than they were. She noticed the trash can before she noticed her seat. It sat beside the service station near the kitchen doors, half hidden behind a decorative divider. Servers kept lifting the lid with their elbows while balancing trays. Ice melted loudly in a gray tub underneath. Her brother stood when she arrived, hugged her quickly, then looked over her shoulder for someone else. "You made it," he said, like she almost hadn't. The engagement dinner was already loud with overlapping conversations, future in-laws, business friends, cousins she hadn't seen in years. Her mother barely glanced up from the wine list. "There she is," she said. "Sit before they start serving." No introduction, no space made for her. The chair beside her stayed empty the entire evening, though several people arrived late and extra seats were added elsewhere. She tried once to join a conversation about vacation plans. Her aunt answered without looking at her. "We're still figuring out ownership timing." Ownership timing. The phrase lingered strangely in her mind. Then her mother leaned over to adjust a centerpiece and said it quietly, casually enough that nobody could accuse her of making a scene. "We only invited you because it was easier than explaining you weren't there." Her mother smiled after saying it, not cruelly, almost practically, like discussing weather. A server reached across the table at that exact moment and dropped a bundle of used cocktail napkins into the trash beside her chair. The smell of wine and lemon rinds drifted upward. She took a sip from her glass so nobody would see her expression change. Across the table, her brother laughed at something someone else said. Nobody had heard it, or worse, maybe they had. She folded her napkin carefully into a square and placed it beside her unfinished plate. "I'm tired," she said. Her mother nodded immediately, relieved by how easy it was. The drive home felt longer than usual. Not because she cried, she didn't. Mostly she kept replaying tiny moments she'd ignored for years because they were easier to survive individually than collectively. The forgotten invitations. The documents left for her to organize. The way family problems became hers whenever competence was needed and invisible again once solved. After her father got sick, she had taken over most of the administrative work nobody else understood. Estate coordination, property filings, insurance renewals, tax prepayments, temporary authorizations during treatment periods. She knew where every deadline lived. Nobody thanked her because eventually they stopped noticing she was doing it. At a red light, she realized something uncomfortable. They didn't think she would ever stop. The next morning, she emailed the family accountant and withdrew herself from 3 administrative roles tied to shared holdings. Professional wording, no emotion. By Friday, she had forwarded transition instructions to her brother. He replied 6 hours later. "Wait, what is this?" She didn't answer immediately. 2 weeks after the dinner, the vacation property transfer stalled during review. An old estate condition required active authorization from all designated parties before ownership restructuring could continue. Her signature was still technically required. The tax prepayment reversal happened 3 days later. Funds had been routed through an authorization structure she maintained personally under an old family agreement. Once removed, several pending payments bounced back automatically for compliance review. Her brother called first. "I think something got messed up." "It didn't," she said. "You know what I mean." She looked at the rain sliding down her apartment window. "No," she answered softly. "I don't think I do anymore." Then came the attorney letters. The first was polite. Notification of formal separation from shared administrative liability. Her mother left a voicemail after receiving it. "You're embarrassing the family over hurt feelings." That sentence sat with her for an entire afternoon, not because it was shocking, because it sounded genuinely sincere. The second letter arrived 4 days later. By then, several filing deadlines had already passed. Penalties activated automatically. A lender paused review on the vacation property until documentation could be corrected. Her brother finally came to her apartment in person. He looked exhausted, older somehow. "Why didn't you warn us?" She almost laughed at the question. For years, warning them had been her entire role. "You thought I was difficult to include," she said quietly. "You never considered what happened if I stopped participating." He sat down slowly after that. No shouting. No dramatic apology, just silence thick enough to expose things neither of them wanted to examine directly. A month later, she sat in an attorney's office signing the final withdrawal documents. The attorney reviewed the papers once more. "You're choosing not to pursue reimbursement claims?" "Yes, even though you likely could." She capped the pen carefully. "I'm not trying to punish anyone." The attorney nodded but waited, sensing there was more. She looked toward the window overlooking the parking structure below. For most of her life, usefulness had been the closest thing her family offered to love. If she solved problems quietly enough, she got invited, included, tolerated, at least temporarily. "I just don't want responsibility mistaken for belonging anymore," she said outside. Traffic moved steadily through the late afternoon rain. Nobody called during the drive home. For the first time in years, neither did she.